Are you ready?
Dan again?
No. Good evening, welcome to the Carlisle Local School Board meeting, Monday, June 24th, 2019, at 6 p.m. Would you call the roll, Mr. Bassler?
Sure. Mr. Jewell? Mrs. Leonhardt?
Here.
Mr. Dunkman?
Here.
Mrs. McIntosh? Absent. And Mr. Moore?
Here.
All right, thank you. Would everyone please rise and join me in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to student and program recognition.
Thank you, Ms. Langhart. Our lone guest for that will be Mr. Bruce Terry. Give you a quick update in his technology world.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's been an exciting year for the district with the new construction, and it was also a good year for technology. All of our normal operations are ongoing, but another big focus right now is the infrastructure for the new construction going into the new building. One thing we did run across is construction costs did increase, which impacted the technology budget. So it's been a challenging year to get the infrastructure arranged for the new building. After this year, the state experts weren't sure that E-rate would even be available to us to reimburse us for any new equipment. So while that program was still in place, we maximized the funds available for this current year, which turned out well because we ended up with a solution which utilized Cisco switches and Cisco equipment, and also got the most attractive bid down another $60,000. So everything ended up working out well there. So in the new building, we'll be upgrading to a 10 gig internal network, which will give us plenty of bandwidth for the future. Any bottlenecks in bandwidth will be outside the district. So we'll be in good shape and be pretty well future-proofed for things down the road. So we continue to plan for that future growth on the network and all the changing requirements that go with that. And we'll also have the new equipment ready to go as soon as we can get into the new building. We'll be ready to go and we can focus on that and get that stuff in there immediately. We're also evaluating all the current equipment, and we'll be purging any of the things that won't be going into the new building and making sure that all the new inventory is ready to go and everything is shipshape for the new building. Any questions?
Is everything in the new building on just Wi-Fi run, or is it going to be hardwire? Like
We have both. We have Wi-Fi and hardwire.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we will move to visitors' comments if anybody wants to. Come on down, state your name, 3 minutes. Tell us why you're here.
Tim Humphreys, 489 Park Drive, Carlisle, Ohio. Carlisle local school district citizen. I was quite curious, I didn't want to throw anybody under the bus today, but I've noticed in other communities that the school district and or the municipality has some placards from the students that have prevailed in state acknowledgements and things of that nature. I was quite curious, is that more of a school branding of those types of signs, or is that a municipality or working together? For example, DJ that went to state last year in track, coming into the community in Franklin, obviously you know that Luke Kennard is a past student there. We have our students that prevailed in many different disciplines. I'd like to maybe think about acknowledging them coming into our town.
Only thing I know, again, I don't know what's been done here. I know in Milford and at Springboro, those were state, or not state, city signage. Obviously, it was for like the championship, state championship type thing, or in Franklin's case, he was Mr. Ohio
Right.
basketball, so that's typically how it kind of works, but I think that's something you work together with. If you got somebody that's,
Well, I hope to open up some communication about that. If it's something that we can do, work together, great. I'd just like to at least address that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, that's just comments. All right, seeing none, we will move on to the treasurer's report, Mr. Bassett.
All right, a few action items for me this month, being the fiscal year end here at the end of June. The regular business, we have some, approve the minutes from the last regularly scheduled board meeting, which was May the 20th, and then special minutes from May 29th and June the 6th.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second?
You may call the roll.
Mr. Duckman?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Motion carried.
Next is a financial report, which is part of your packet, which goes along with the rest of June. No real surprises, still plugging along, working our way to get the year closed out here by June 30th. Probably more like July 6th, 7th, 8th, but it'll be fiscal year end June 30th. No surprises, the approval for those reports.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore.
Second.
Mr. Duckman? If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Duckman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Motion carried.
Next, I'll need the approval to post all the adjustments for year end so that we can have the books closed.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Duckman.
Second?
Mr. Moore, any questions? You may call the roll.
Mr. Duckman?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Motion carried.
Next, as part of your packet, is temporary appropriations. As you know, we will begin spending next year's money beginning July 1, and we have to have temporary appropriations in place. And then I'll be back in the September board meeting to do the permanent appropriations at that time.
Do I have a motion?
One question.
Yep.
Maybe I've asked and this has been answered in the past and I just don't remember, but all the past classes that have money left in their accounts, what is done with that? Why, what?
Typically,
where does
when
it
a
go?
senior, they try to budget it so they spend it all.
Right.
And if they don't spend it all, then there's money left over. And then the way I handle it, and I don't know how it was handled in the past, but kind of the way I handle it is when the high school needs something that benefits all the students per se. I think we've bought some stuff for homecoming in the past. We've bought like tables or something that is needed at the high school and benefits everybody. Then that class donates that particular piece of item to the high school and pays for it out of those past classes funds.
Excellent.
So
Thank
that's
you.
that's what we've used it, and communicating with the high school principal, hey, you've got X number of dollars, something that's needed that benefits everybody.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore.
Second.
You may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Duckman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Motion
Next is the supplemental year-end appropriations for this fiscal year, 1920. Had to make a few adjustments to make sure we were covered, but not the general fund. General fund was good. Just a few of the other smaller funds as the year progresses. Somebody's doing a little bit more fundraising, which means they're going to spend a little bit more money, have to do some adjustments. So, but I need approval for those final supplemental appropriations for this year.
carried. All right, have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Duckman.
Second?
Mr. Moore, have any questions? You may call the roll.
Mr. Duckman?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Motion carried.
And then lastly, each year I bring the property liability and fleet insurance that we carry from the EPC insurance pool, just to get approval from the board. Actually, the prices went down about $500 this year over last year, so it's a good pool to stay in.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by
that is my report for the month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. At this time, we'll move to the superintendent's report, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Mrs. Lanehart. Just real quickly, I've been trying to push a lot of pictures out of the construction process. We had quite a lengthy meeting last week as well. Just usually centers around logistics. And there's a lot of different types of crews working and trying to keep them out of each other's way is what our construction manager is hired for, and they've been doing a fantastic job. Right now, most of the slabs that are on the ground, those are called slabs on grade, most of those are all completed. The only big one that's not is the big gym, the new gym, but they have to leave that because they're gonna have to bring that big crane that's out there. If you've seen that driving by, that they can only set that so far to hang the steel, big girders because of the weight. So they'll come in after that and finish that. Walls are going up very quickly. Most of them right now are 4 foot above where the second floor will be. That's called the safety catch for the masons. The high school is completed. I sent you out a picture. I posted some pictures that should show it. But the metal workers have been there. They've laid that down. In fact, if the weather cooperates, tomorrow they're pouring the second floor of the high school, the whole high school wing. They're laying steel on the elementary. They've completed the kindergarten and administrative wing of that. So they'll move to that section to pour. Then they'll move over to the elementary, and that'll be in sections. They just keep moving up around. There's a big wall in the back that is the back end, locker rooms, all that. So it is moving very quickly. A lot of concrete block out there. I just, for clarification, most of you have probably, I've either told you before or shared with you, the actual brick comes a little bit later. Okay, the brick doesn't bear weight. So if you look at it and you go, oh my God, it's ugly, you know, because it's just cinder block. That's because that's what bears all the weight of all the metal beams, etc. What happens is they'll go right on up now, like the high school, they'll progress right up to rafters. They'll set in another set to set the roof. Okay? The race right now is to get all sections, you know, by November, December, January, and that under roof. Okay? They will then, at some point, some section of them will actually start bringing the brick up on the side, which looks nice. That makes it look pretty. But what they'll do for that is they'll actually put their scaffolding on the outside of the brick, and then they'll bring tarps that go all the way to the roof, and they'll blow heat into it. So these guys work almost in an interior environment, unless it's 20 below, they probably won't. But that's kind of how it goes. So that you'll see all those right now. They're wanting to get up to the top rafter of the second floor. So that's what they're pushing. There's about 9 different sections. They just keep ahead of the masons, or keeping the masons building. They just keep laying blocks. So that's kind of where it's at. It's rolling good. If the weather is nice for us in July, before maybe the July meeting at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'll get some more information to you. Read out of the trailer and kind of tour the facilities. And right now it's a little sloppy, so let's hopefully we'll get a little bit drier weather, and you'll really see some detail out there. I mean, you can see it, especially if you're above from the high school down. You can really see the detail of where the footprints at. So it'll be kind of neat for you. So just kind of pencil that in and we'll watch the weather, okay? So that kind of concludes my construction piece. We are on target time-wise. And right now, things are going good. Right now, the other pieces that we're working with outside of the actual building is just making sure we're getting ourselves ready for the fall seasons. Okay, lighting on paths, pathways, the back parking lot, back by the stadium, because that'll be used as well. We'll be entering into the football stadium for soccer matches, etc. at the north end and at the south end. There'll be 2 entrances. Okay, the south end, so there'll be booths set up for that. So where it's normally on that east or west side, the northwest side, you can't even access that. So it'll be on the north side and on the south side. So there'll be more stuff. We'll post it in the website as we get closer, so people know how to deal with the parking issues, at least for 1 year anyway. Okay.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. The things I get asked most are we on time? Are we on budget? And is the stadium going to have running water and electricity when it's time to do sporting activities? Those are the things I get asked the most when I'm out and about.
They tell me yes on all of the accounts. Well, we have been working on that because what's happened with the concession stand watering, obviously we have to go to city water versus our well water. That's not a choice that we have. So we have redone some of those connections. What we're finding out, and we should have a solution this week, and it should be done by mid-July. So the solution, the problem short term is water pressure isn't as much as the pressure we had before. So when they connected everything, the city pressure is only about 55. If I'm out in left field, holler at me. Okay, but it was about 55 pounds per square inch. We were probably a little bit higher than that. And so when they re-established those connections, so they're working on that. Probably going to have to change the meter out, and they think we'll be good to go after that. So I'll know more for sure next week. You guys think about their engineers double checking it, but it'll get fixed regardless. So what we have done is the watering of fields will be maintained through well water. So just that, but anything else has to be city water. So concession stands where you have the potential to, drink out of it or stuff, and that's part of the city ordinances.
I do have a question. I've seen this done recently on TV, and I'm not sure if it'll be too late or if it's even feasible, but I think there was one school that was taking one of the steel beams and setting it up for students to sign their name on. And I'm wondering if that's even a possibility at this point. I know that they've put up a lot of beams, but I'm sure there's still more beams to put up. Is that a possibility?
We've asked for that. We've already talked about it. Where it's at right now is maybe. Here's why. Putting your name on a beam that's here isn't the issue. The issue is, do you want the beam to be seen? And if it's going to be one that's seen from now on, there's only a couple of places that can happen. And unfortunately, it's got to be in place. And so I'm trying to get kids up to, like in the Commons where they first were talking about it. Remember Mike was talking about our architect. How can we get kids up to it to sign? I'm going, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. So now, if it's a hidden one, we can probably get one on the ground, kids sign it. Who knows knows what part of the building it will be in.
I think the kids would be fine with just knowing that, hey, I've got my name on a beam in there, because I know they did that in my work, and when we built the plant down here, and then when they added on downtown, as employees, we got to go in and sign it, and so I know my name's on there somewhere, you know. I would imagine.
It's still a possibility, because remember, a lot of the beams are gonna be up. So we almost have to get into school, so then we'll reevaluate. So if it doesn't, if nobody cares that you're not gonna be in a visible spot, that's probably been easier to do. Because I really don't want kids in a construction site. There's too much, you know, and it's not that I don't trust a lot of them, it just takes one of them. That place is like crazy. So if we have the ability to set a beam outside for a week, you know, we'll see what we can do. We have some other options though too that we're gonna try to get involved into. So moving on to my action items. Oh, I'm gonna get serenaded too. That's good. Items B1, I need approval under the general district business for items A through G as listed.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, may call the roll.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes. Thank you, motion carried.
Under action item B2, I need approval for item A under administrative employment.
Do I have a motion?
So
Second.
If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
yes.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes. Thank you, motion carried.
Item 3, under certified resignations, I need approval for item A.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Duffin.
Second.
Second, Mr. Moore. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes. Thank you, motion carried.
Excuse me. Item B4, under certified employment, I need approval for A and B.
Do I have a motion?
So
Motion by Mr. Moore.
Second.
Mr. Duffin. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
yes.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Motion carried.
Item 5, under classified resignations, I need approval for items A and B.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Duffin.
Second.
Mr. Moore. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes. Thank you, motion carried.
Item 6, under classified employment, I need the approval for items A through C.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore.
Second.
Mr. Duffin. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you, motion carried.
For item 7, under supplemental resignations, I need approval for items A through H.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Duffin. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Moore. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you, motion
Under supplemental employment, I need approval for items A through E. And we'll table item F until July.
carried. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Duffin. If there's no questions, you may call the roll. Excuse me.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Duffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. All right.
Slide on the back.
Now, at this time, we will move to the Board of Education. Do we have a legislative report, Mr. Moore?
It looks like they finally have reached an agreement on the budget up there in the Capitol, which is a good thing. But it now means that there's going to be a lot of fights and arguments about doing different parts and pieces. They've already started arguing about some of the education pieces and different things up there in regarding to graduation requirements and what standard are we going to go to for this coming school year? Are we going to go back to the previous one? So a lot of things still up in the air, but at least we're making some sort of progress. The last I heard was that they were going to try to do some educationally related votes before the summer break. Whether that actually happens or not, of course, remains to be seen, but I'm not holding my breath on it, no.
Thank you so much. I'll do the CTC report. CTC met on June 11th at 7 p.m. 2019. It was a regular business meeting. Do we have any old business? Any new business? Right, if not, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore,
Second?
second by Mr. Gunn. May I call the roll?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes.